All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's webinar. We're going to go ahead and get started now, even though we still have a few people logging in. Want to thank you for joining us, whether it's your lunchtime, your morning time, or maybe it's nighttime for you, or late afternoon. We really appreciate it. Just some housekeeping to get out of the way. So first of all, if you're here to talk about email sequencing and its impact on driving some business and some candidate pipeline, you're in the right place. Today's webinar should last about 30-35 minutes, but then we're going to leave a good chunk of time at the end to answer any pressing questions that you have. So throughout the webinar, make sure that you are putting any questions into that Q&A box, and I will be sure to reserve some time for our speakers to answer that later. The recording will be sent to you. We'll also share the slides and some great email templates post-call as well. So if you have to jump off, or if for some reason you want to share this with your team on a broader level, you'll have all of those resources to you by tomorrow afternoon. All right, and now what I'd like to do is get us kick-started over to introduce our speakers. So Manan, I'm going to have you start.
Hey, thanks, Christina. Hi, everyone. I'm Manan. I'm co-founder and CEO of Recruiterflow. We are a modern ATS and a CRM system that's built specifically for recruiting and staffing businesses. I have played multiple roles over last 10 years in my career. Started out as a developer, and ended up as a sales guy. And one of my driving principles behind building Recruiterflow is focus on automation and recruiter productivity. So yeah, so that's basically about me.
Hey everyone, I'm Steve Liu, co-founder and the CEO of Interseller. My background's mainly in engineering. I've been an engineer for like more than a decade of my life now. I've worked at several companies before in the past, Compass, Abacus. I used to lead engineering teams, helped grow them from basically just myself to multiple people. I've also have a really strong background in basically email. I used to build basically spam filters for my university called Rutgers. So I have a lot of insights on just kind of like how to hit the inbox and how to reach people, things to avoid and stuff like that. I'm very data driven. So as we talk a lot more about kind of like email sequences, I'll show you guys a lot of different pieces of data. But yeah, that's my background. I've been doing Interseller for 3 years, and yeah. Yeah, and so our agenda here today, we're going to talk a lot about just kind of like, Manan's going to talk a lot about the current state of the recruiting and staffing industry. He has a lot of research that he would like to share with everyone, just to kind of give a general sense of like what's going on. We'll start talking about like, what is an email sequence? Why is it really important? How do we use it for both candidates and client outreach? So we'll kind of like talk about that. Third one is, yeah, same thing, just like, why is it really important? And we'll talk about like the key things to kind of like keep in mind of when creating an email sequence. And then last but not least, we're going to, what are the most effective ways to reach out during the pandemic? We've crafted different types of email strategy. So we're going to be talking about what those strategies specifically to COVID-19.
Okay, brilliant. So the first thing that we want to talk about is where we are, as an industry during this pandemic, right? So the coronavirus has hit everybody, and I see a lot of anxiety when I talk to different recruiting and staffing leaders, in terms of where they are. Are they particularly more hit or less hit than others in the market? So, the first thing that we want to do is give you a bit of an idea in terms of where the industry is. And Christina, can we move to the next slide? Yeah. So the first, so we have a whole survey that we did with more than 100 participants all across the world. The survey is going to go live tomorrow on our website, but I picked up a few data points that I think are most relevant. So the first one is the impact that recruiting agencies are seeing on their revenues, right? So as you can see over here, so more than 60% of agencies report a decline of 40% or more, and more than 50% report a decline of half of their revenue. So it's tough out there for everybody, and we see a small glimmer of hope. So about 15% of agencies have either seen no impact or have seen their revenue increase. But when we go back and look at our data, majority of those agencies are working in the healthcare sector or any sector related to the healthcare. So we have medical devices and healthcare supplies, healthcare logistics, those kind of things. So we are seeing a pretty good time right now, but other than that, majority of industry is pretty badly hit, right? So the second, very important data point is how many job orders is a recruiter working on, right? So in our survey, we saw that more than 60% of agencies have seen their job order drop by more than 40%. And again, so about 16% haven't seen their job orders drop. And again, that particular segment is mainly dominated by healthcare and healthcare related businesses. So, apart from that, almost everybody. So farther you are from the sunshine sectors, the more heat you feel during this particular time. So that's one of the takeaway. It's a very interesting, data point that we have in terms of, when do people expect things to go back to normal, right? So, so majority of the people expect, it's going to take less than a year, but more than at least 3 months. However, so the reason we are doing, the reason behind this webinar is that this is going to be your window of opportunity, right? So over next 3 to 9 months are going to be your window of opportunity to survive and thrive in this environment. So just the other day, I was talking to a veteran recruiter who told me that, 2010, 2011 were his best years in business. And the very simple reason behind that was that the financial crisis wiped out a lot of businesses. And when the businesses were getting back on the hiring wagon, they did not have enough recruiters. And so each recruiter had plenty to go around. And those who focused on building their pipelines during the crisis time, during the downtime, had really had a heyday when the business started going back to normal. And that's the main purpose of this webinar. We are going to talk about how you can create predictable candidate and client pipelines using email sequences. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is what's an email sequence and why are they important. I'm sure a few of you already know what email sequences are, but just for the benefit of everybody. So email sequences are a set of emails that are going out to a prospect in a particular time frame, right? So here is how they work. So you send out one email to somebody and they don't respond to you. 3 days later, you send out another email and then another email, so on and so forth. So that's an email sequence. To give you a quick example, this is a beautiful example that we have of a recruiting email sequence. As you can see, so at the top, the first image that you'll see will give you a kind of an idea about the kind of matrix that you can achieve with effective email sequences, right? So as you can see, there is 94% open rate, close to 60% response rate and about 14% call booking rate, which is astonishing, right? So, and that's really the power of what sequences can do for you, right? And it's really simple. If we have the actual emails that went out, it's no fluff. Absolutely gets straight to the point. And it's really personalized, right? So so Steve is going to talk more about some of the great things that are there in this email sequence. But I just want to point out that if you look at the subject, it's personalized. The email that's personalized, it's short, it's sweet, gets to the point, and delivers tremendous results, right? So the sequences work because of their frequency, right? So you're not just reaching out to somebody just one time, you're reaching out to them again and again. So if we can, so if we can move to the next slide, Christina. Yeah, so this graph will tell you the response rates by which particular touch point gave you that particular response, right? So as you can see, 37% of responses came in the first email, right? But the second email got almost the same number of responses, right? Which is 36%. 18% of responses came from the third email, right? So effectively, by being, by following up a couple of times, you're definitely going to increase your response rates by at least 100%. And as you write more and more emails, the utility of every subsequent email decreases. So, going above 6 emails is generally not advisable. However, this is something that, I would really encourage you to, experiment on. And different industries, different kinds of target customers will have different kind of data sets, but it's overall kind of a best practice kind of a number that you want to stay up to 5 to 6 touch points and not more than that. It's about striking a balance between being persistent and being annoying, right? So you want to be persistent, you want to be remembered, but you don't want to annoy them, and so that's where you want to be. So so this is a great illustration of why email sequences work, especially compared to LinkedIn InMails, right? So InMails, when they launched it, they were a fantastic tool, but as people have gotten used to the InMails, they don't work as well as they used to, and I have seen customers with 3x response rates from email sequences compared to LinkedIn InMails. So, sure, you can probably work out InMails in your outreach strategy, but emails will win over LinkedIn InMails any particular day. All right, brilliant. So, that's all I wanted to say about that. So, the next thing that we want to talk about is how do you get most out of your email sequences? And I'm going to leave this to Steve to get deep into.
Cool. Thanks, Manan. Basically, as Manan mentioned in the previous slide, follow-ups are really important. So we're going to talk a little bit of just kind of like email sequences and how do you get the most out of it, since email sequences are like fairly new to the market. We find actually like only like 4 or 5% actually know what an email sequence software is and how it can really help. And obviously, we have a Q&A section, so you're more than welcome to like put any questions there. We'll answer them towards the end of the webinar. But just to reiterate, like follow-ups are really important, and striking a right balance, like Manan mentioned, is really important too. Pretty much anytime after the 5th email or so, we pretty much don't really see as many response rates beyond that, just primarily because they're not, people kind of like find it a little bit more annoying past that time. So you want to get a lot of your email content within the first 5 emails that you send. The things that we're going to focus on today are like, how much time is someone willing to actually read your emails? And really number 2 is like, how do we maximize the reply rate? Just like we've seen in the previous slides before, getting a 60% reply rate is really crazy. And we're going to tell you how we're able to do that. Cool. So first, easiest one is just like short into the point subject lines. As you can see here in these screenshots in Gmail, I actually made a LinkedIn post today. More than 80% of candidates use Gmail, and this is kind of like what it will look like to them. And so if you see after about, I would say 30 or so characters, it starts using this kind of like cutoff, like these 3 dots. And so like, if you can't read the subject line, people are just gonna be like, all right, well, the subject line's really long. It's probably a marketing email. I'm probably not gonna read it and not even open it at all. So this is just really kind of like typical on an iPhone 11. Basically, I can say I just read register today, and that's pretty much it. Same thing on the right-hand side. It's just, it gets cut off pretty much towards the end. And that's also on the right-hand side, a typical size of what we see as like browser size for a computer or a laptop. Keep it simple, keep it short. It's pretty like, and this slide pretty much like we mentioned kind of like having a short subject line, but here's kind of like the typical open rate per 20 characters. And as you can see, it's like really like leans towards the left-hand side, where from 0 to 20 characters, you are getting more than about a 40%, 42% reply rate, or open rate. And then anything beyond that is pretty much kind of like a flat line, near 30% or so. We can see it ranging around from like 28 to 30, 34, 33%. So really keep it short, keep it simple. Sometimes like the shortest subject lines will get you that open. Cool. And so let's talk a little bit about email copy, right? And this is kind of like an outreach to, we do kind of like an outreach to a candidate, or sorry, a client. I like to do 2 things. The first one is, you see my subject line, it just says like, hey, Steve. And it's kind of like more of like a personal opening. So like when people see that, they're like more inclined to open it because it's like, someone's mentioning them by name. And then we kind of like go into the email copy here where, we kind of like mention like I placed like what we've placed before in the past, what companies we've served, and also kind of like just kind of like who we are a little bit towards the end, the action item where we do like, let me know if we can help. We do a standard 20% fee and a 90-day guarantee, which are both industry standard, just kind of like bring that out forward. A lot of like internal recruiters like it really just straight up and up front, rather than kind of like wasting their time through like a lot of different calls. So this goes really to the point. Obviously, in the first paragraph here, we're kind of really opening up by just kind of like mentioning the current times. Hopefully they're doing okay. I hope everyone else in this webinar is doing okay too. But yeah, you mentioned basically like, hey, I saw a job opening that you had on the board. Was wondering if you needed any help for it. I got a lot of candidates in my pipeline that could be a good fit too. And that's kind of like the first email copy that we really like to use. Straight, simple, to the point. You've got 5 seconds, so make those 5 seconds count. Next big thing here is this is a follow-up, and you'll notice how short this follow-up is. And the reason because of it is when you send a follow-up to that email, it attaches the first email to the bottom, and it actually like kind of has this like this ellipsis where you can like kind of like show it and hide it. By default, it won't show it, but they can reopen it if they like. And it also attaches it, if you're in Gmail, it attaches it to a thread. So they can go scroll up to the top and they'll see that first email. And in this email, we basically just say like, wanted to follow up again, see if you were interested in using an agency to help fill any gaps in your front end team. Happy to open up a call. This is really short action item that just really summarizes what the previous email was. It just like really gets to the point. And that's kind of like really what we like when it comes to email copy. And you're probably wondering next, when should I send this follow-up? We find that sending follow-ups within at least the first 4 days is just spot on. Anything beyond that, people kind of like lose the top of mind after opening the first email. So like you want to follow up between the first 4 days. And you can see here that We receive a lot of replies on that second day. You skip, basically, if you were to send your first email on Monday, you skip Tuesday and you remind them on Wednesday. That's kind of like really the super important piece here when it comes to following up. And so next slide here, how do we stand out? How do we stand out to clients during this, during COVID-19? I'm gonna basically let Manan take over here since he has a lot more insights about that. So I'm gonna kick it off to him.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Steve. One of the things, a very interesting data point that I want to mention regarding the email example that you shared. So that email subject line was personalized with hi first name. Looking at our data, we see that the personalized subject lines get 16% more open rates compared to non-personalized subjects. So there you have it. If given a choice, always go with more personalized subject line, right? So it also helps you stay out of the spam filters and gets you much better open rates, right? So with that out of the way, it's right now it's a difficult time, and I don't want to minimize the human impact that this crisis is having, but one of the things that a lot of recruiters get into is that there is nobody hiring right now. What good is it building pipeline currently, right? And I want to go back to my earlier point, right? So it's not going to stay like this forever, right? So we will see recovery, and we will see recruiting activity starting back up in 3 months, 6 months, whatever the period it is. And if you don't start building your pipelines today, that's when you are going to get hurt. So this downtime is a window of opportunity for you. And another, very common question that I see is that nobody's recruiting. Why is any hiring manager going to talk to me? But quite contrary to that popular belief, people are everybody's stuck at home, and everybody has more time because the workload is not as much as it used to be, and they're much more open to having a conversation. They probably don't have the budget, they probably don't have the need, but most important thing that you need is the time, which is what they have currently in abundance, and that's what you want to do. So right now is the time for you to start building relationships, and start getting people on a call, right? So just a few general guidelines. First of all, be focused on building relationships compared to doing the hard sell. Whether it's the candidate, whether it's the hiring manager, everybody has anxiety around what's going on right now, and you want to be cognizant of that fact. Just start a polite conversation. One of the great ways to do that is, offer something useful for free, right? So, if you are reaching out to a candidate, offer, hey, do you want me to review your resume, or, help you point you in the right direction of the companies that are recruiting, right? So do that as much as you can. And one of the things that I would advise you is keep the free word out of your email copy, because this is one of the top spam filters. If Gmail or Outlook or any email servers sees free multiple times in your emails, then they are going to hit you, mark you as spam. So you don't want that to happen. It is difficult. The third thing is, acknowledge the current times, but it's difficult to start talking about business in the current environment. But you do want to talk business. And so what I would suggest is, you don't need to go on and on about, what you're seeing currently and things like that. But just sign off your email with stay safe and healthy, or just be well kind of a thing. If in an extraordinary situation like this, if you don't show that empathetical human side, you come out as quite robotic, quite monotonous, and that can turn off your recipients. You don't want that to happen. So acknowledge what's happening around us. Everybody's seeing that, and try and empathize and relate with your prospects with that, right? And so generally speaking, right, the final thing in about call to actions is, in the normal times, a call to action would be, would be the next step of whatever your funnel is, right? So you want to talk about, hey, can we get on a call, or can you, can we do a phone screen or something like that? But right now is probably not the best time to do hard call to action. So if you're giving a free offer, then have a call to action that's maybe not always directly related to the services that you're offering. With that being said, there is absolutely, if you know that your prospect is either looking for a job or is currently hiring, there is absolutely nothing wrong with directly going for the business call to action, that, hey, I can help you hire, or I can help you find a job, and straight go there. But if you don't know, then a softer call to action is more advisable, at least in the current environment. All right, so those are the main general principles that we are following ourselves, as well as this is what I advise our customers doing their email sequences on the product. Okay, so
Awesome.
yeah, that's pretty much it. I think we'll open this up for Q&A. I see we have lots and lots of questions coming in via the chat as well as the Q&A section. So Christina, I'll just hand it over to you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much. That was really informative and like a really tight period of time. So again, don't worry, we'll send out the recording if you need to digest this a little bit more, but lots of really great questions. We'll try to get to as many as we can. There's some overlapping or trending kind of conversational pieces here. And I know a couple of those for sure that Steve would probably geek out on, which is a lot of spam questions. So we'll try to get to as many as we can. If we don't get to them, obviously you can follow up with us. We'll follow up with you, etc. So let me just cherry pick here a little bit. You know what? There's an elephant in the room. People are talking about spam, what actions they can take if they've been marked as spam, what actions they should take to prevent spam. You want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, totally. So as mentioned before, my background is basically in spam filtering. Long while back, I would say a couple of things first. The evolution of spam filters has gotten really, really extensive as kind of like we are going forward in the industry. So the act of getting into spam is kind of like someone basically either like not opening your email, not replying to your email, and marking you as spam. So I call it basically the engagement score, and it's kind of very similar to if you have ever run Google Ads. So Gmail and Outlook run off of what we call an engagement score. So if you've sent a lot of the same email, even if you've kind of like modified it several, like use like the mail merge filters here and there, what Gmail will do is it will actually attribute the same email that you've sent, like let's say 1,000 different times, all to the same exact like source and to the same exact kind of like, this is this exact email. And so what it will do is then if someone kind of like, let's say opens your email, you gain a point. If someone just sends it straight to archive, you'll lose a point. If someone like marks you as spam, you lose 10 points. As you kind of like, as time goes forward, as you like send those emails out, what will happen is your engagement score will start going down really rapidly, really quickly. You sent a lot of emails really, really too fast. And then your engagement score will be in this like kind of like negative zone. Once you've gotten that negative zone that Gmail doesn't like, what will happen is Gmail and Outlook Outlook does the same thing. Gmail will just kind of like filter all of your emails out into the spam box. So some really key important things to really notice about spam filters. One, make sure you're spreading out your emails across the entire day rather than an extremely short period of time. So if you sent like 1,000 emails within the first hour, that's not so good. What will happen is you just don't have enough time, like basically your engagement score divided by the amount of time you sent it out. So Gmail will kind of like look and frown upon it because like it doesn't seem organic. You're not actually sending those. You can't send 1,000 emails out in a really short period of time. Part two is really you want to kind of like clean up your data sources and kind of like rework your email copy. So start by doing things like kind of like starting off like low volume first. And so if you're doing like 50 at a time and you're just kind of like, okay, let's see if, like what my open rate is. If it's really high, if my reply rate's really high, then you can start replicating whatever those practices that you've done before and start increasing them to 100, 200, 300. Now, the third recommendation that I really recommend to all of our Interseller customers is don't use the same email copy more than 1,000 times or 1,000 to 2,000 times, primarily because like that same email just kind of gets attributed across all the different services. What will happen is like if you change just one sentence, just even one sentence, Gmail will think of it as a completely different email. And so to that point, we recommend that all of our customers also like send multiple sequences at the same time. So that way you're sending more organic, like more email that looks organic. Those are kind of like the top three things that we recommend. I can talk about this all day, for a very long time, but I'll kind of leave it as that.
Yeah, I just want one point. I just want to add one point. So, one of the things that I do is every week, I would change a couple of lines in every touch point that we have, right? So every week we don't send a lot of emails. We probably send 250, 300 emails a week. That's not a really high number, but with just that, we've been very successfully able to not get marked as spam. I'm not changing my messaging. I'm not changing anything. I'm just changing a few sentences here and there every week. Doesn't take a lot of time, and it's a very sustainable practice.
Yeah. I'll follow up one last time since I see a lot of questions around just a little bit more spam. And I'll try to go over them just really quickly here. First one is, do bounced or invalid emails affect spam filtering? Absolutely, 100%. This affects Outlook more than anything else. So if you're reaching out to clients who use Outlook, more often than not, if you hit too many bounced, if you like send too many emails to invalid emails, Outlook kind of like frowns upon that pretty drastically, in fact. It basically thinks you are kind of like guessing at emails and just trying to like send as many emails as you can to those Outlook accounts. So this is why it's really important to validate your emails first. And then the last one that I see here is, how can we get rid of marked as spam? If you're already marked as spam, it's actually really easy to get out unless you're permanently in like bad land, which is very, very, very difficult to do. You would actually have to send like 100,000 emails before you could get permanently marked as spam. To get out of it, the really easy way to do it is just kind of like, first things first is like just rewrite your email copy. Make sure your data is clean. Start from like minimal volume and start increasing it. And then the second thing to get out of it too is we like to employ this. This works only once. If you're marked as spam in Gmail, what you can do is send send emails to all of your Gmail friends, and then text them and be like, hey, can you check your spam box and mark me as not spam? What will happen is Gmail will look at that and be like, cool, okay, your engagement score is higher. Now, it's not time to start spamming more times after that, because this works only once or twice. Beyond that, basically Gmail will kind of figure it out. So this is like that temporary fix, but like overall, the overarching idea is you need to like start fixing up your email copy. You need to have like start like what Manan said, rewrite it every week or so. and just really kind of start from small, then start scaling once you have good stats, like what we've mentioned, 90% open rates and 60% replies is extremely high, but try to aim towards like at least a 15 to 20% reply rate.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like we could talk about spam in like a whole other, maybe that'll be our next webinar, is just talking about spam and how not to be there.
Yeah.
Lots of questions coming in. There's so many, guys. I really love it. This one, I think, I have my idea about how to answer it, so maybe I'll take a stab too here just for fun. But someone had written early on, while I agree that in-mails are significantly less effective than emails, have you found that it makes sense to mix in-mail into the sequence if no reply, maybe after 2 or 3 emails? He's personally found yes, but would love to get our opinion. I want to speak from my experience because I come from a marketing and recruiting background and I'm now in sales, and I believe in not putting all your eggs in one basket. So yes, I love email sequences. What I really like is the data that I get that I can't get from LinkedIn. For example, I can see who's opening, who's clicking, when they opened, how many times they opened, how many times they clicked, etc. And then what that helps me do is prioritize who I might reach out to through another means to get that conversation going. So whether it's picking up the phone, whether it's doing a LinkedIn voice message, I usually stray away from in-mails, to be honest with you, because I think there's ways to connect without having to spend money. Or I do a connection request to try to move that along. But yeah, I definitely think there's a place there personally. I think it's just about how you weave that in and with who. What do you guys think?
Christina has been killing it. So follow her advice.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. And, it's not just, LinkedIn in-mails, right? So especially, when you are reaching out to clients, if you don't get a response, but you see that, this person has opened your email 5 times or 3 times, there is a definite signal that this prospect is interested, and you just want to maybe reach out to them on LinkedIn, or maybe pick up a phone and call them, and start a conversation like that. But again, right? So calls, LinkedIn in-mails, they do not have a feedback loop. And that's why they cannot be scaled. So you want to have emails as your base, and from there, how your emails get engagement. Take the next step, whatever it is. Whether it's a call or an SMS, a LinkedIn message, whatever it is. You want to have your emails as a base of your communication strategy, purely because of its scalability as well as the feedback loop.
Awesome. All right. Let's see here. All right, so this is a good one. What are your thoughts on using a reply subject line versus new threads for subject lines, or a new subject line for each email?
Yeah, I would say I would highly recommend, just like, it's very situational, right? Depending on kind of like your strategy in email, it would, like, again, if you're like kind of like following up on the same topic, it's going to make more sense to reply to the same thread, primarily because like you get the benefits of basically Gmail grouping your emails up together so that they can re-reference that, like, they've seen that email in the past. New threads are really good for, like, if you're going through like really long engagement sequences. So like if you've had a couple of emails first, like let's say like first email 3 days after, second email 5 days after, third email, and then let's say you're like, oh, maybe I've exhausted this channel, let me message this guy 30 days later. That's when I would probably use a new thread. Other than that, it's very situational. We see some people do really well on it, some people not. So just depends on your strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's my observation is pretty much on the same line, Steve. And what I've seen is so a lot of our customers are doing sequences that are the first touch point and the second touch point are maybe even sometimes 30 days apart. What they're trying to do is, just ask the hiring manager that, hey, this is a new quarter, or, we have this new business, blah, blah, blah. Can we help in any way? There, a separate subject line or a separate thread would make sense. But if you're pretty much going about the same topic and in the closer time, then go with the same, just the same thread in reply.
Yep.
Awesome. All right.
We'll do more rapid fire.
So many, I know. What data do you have on best worst days of week for emails and thoughts of time a day?
Yeah. So we do have data on this. We don't have like specific hours, but I can talk kind of like high level overview. I would say to this, candidates reply mostly on Mondays, and it's a much significant number, almost like 2x. So if you get your emails, like let's say Sunday night, Monday morning, your chances of someone replying, but like on the candidate side, increases on Monday. And then Tuesday through Friday is basically the same. You just kind of like flat. Saturdays and Sundays are the worst times that we see candidates reply. Also, that could be a skewed stat primarily because we don't see many recruiters send emails on like weekends. But we're gauging this data more on like when do candidates reply back, and we see it heavily on Monday. And then on the hours, I would say depending on the candidate's time zone, we find near lunchtime to be the best time. I think that's kind of like when they kind of like shut off for a little bit and kind of like answer the emails or check their inbox, or like if it, like for example, when I was an engineer, I would always check it at lunchtime because I was writing code constantly. I would never have a chance to read my email, but that's usually the general data that we see.
Sure. So, I have a little bit of a different viewpoint on this. So, of course, the day matters. We see most of our candidates also respond the most on either Sunday evenings and, Monday. However, one of the, we don't really see a lot of, variance during at what time the email is sent to get a response. And so one of the reasons I think behind that is, what I like to do is, if my first email is going out, at let's say 8 a.m., I would send my second email, just 12:30, 12:45, so just after lunch. I would send third email around 4 p.m. My fourth email would be around 5:30 or 6 p.m. So, it helps me do multiple things, right? So it helps me scan out my prospects entire day. And it also helps me, since my emails are going out at different times, if you take any particular 1 hour, out of my sent items folder, you will not see more than 20, 25 emails going out, right? So that way I stay out of the spam box, as well as I scan out my prospects entire day and get a better opportunity at getting a response. And with that being said, we took a very close look at our data. We couldn't really see a lot of bias in terms of a particular time. But there is definitely, the Sunday is the best day. For the business development, actually, Monday is actually the worst possible day to get a response. And so is Friday. So you want to have most of your BD emails going out on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And the reason is very simple. Monday, hiring manager comes in. They just look at the amount of work that they have, and they just how to forget about everything. On Friday, you just want to hit home and grab a beer. So, so Friday is no good either, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday work really well.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, let's rapid fire here. All right. What kind of offers can recruitment agencies give to passive clients out there? I've got an idea for this, by the way. So if part of your business offering is a temp to hire or contract side of the business, or maybe it's not. One of the things that I've seen working really well for landing some meetings is just simply offering to talk through a company, maybe one of the target companies that you're going after, their hiring strategy during this time, and how they maybe could pivot to a less risky way of hiring for some of the roles with like temp to hire or contract. So I've seen a lot of clients and prospects that I've been working with pivot to either hone in on that part of the strategy and just say, hey, listen, I'm not trying to fill your needs right now unless you have them, but let's just get on a call and talk through what your strategy is right now. Because I know you have openings, I know you have needs, and it's really risky to hire full time right now. We get that. Here's what some of our clients have been doing, right? So that's one offer. Manan, Steve, do you guys have other offers out there? That was just kind of one off the top of my head.
No, absolutely. Yeah, Steve, go ahead.
No. I was gonna let you handle it. Yeah, I can't think of. I probably had a couple in the past. I just don't think. I'm thinking more like interseller offers more than like me being a recruiter to hiring managers offers. So Christina probably had a better idea on that, but I'll let Manan handle it.
So absolutely. So what I've seen some of our customers do in their sequences and Recruiterflow is very simple, right? So they basically say that, hey, I know that you were recruiting for so and so roles, but I'm sure your priorities have changed. So you acknowledge the fact that things are not the same anymore as they used to be in just about 40 days back, and then they try to weave into a conversation that, hey, but we know that next quarter is going to be different. You will have hiring on your head. Do you want to get a jump start on it, and we can just discuss some strategies? I can tell you what I'm seeing in the market, right? So again, going back to the point of not making the hard sell, but here our customers are offering that, hey, I'm just going to give you a lay of the land. What's happening, where are the candidates, what are the other companies that are hiring, and things like that. So that I've seen that that works pretty well for some of the customers.
Awesome. Yeah, we had a couple questions here about what makes a simple, effective, yet attractive subject line. And just to speak real quickly, the key word there is simple. And so what I have found, and believe it or not, I have crafted so many subject lines over the last like 4 or 5 years. And so I have a good idea of what gets people's attention. The simplest way to get people to open your emails is just to put hi, first name, let's connect, or let's chat. I mean, honestly, if you put their first name in there first, that's, the personalization of the subject line is really key. Keep it simple. It doesn't necessarily have to correlate with your message inside. The goal there is that you're getting them to open, and then from there, your email copy has to be on point, right? And so from a subject line perspective, that's what I found has been the best performing across both candidate and client development. Curious if, Steve or Manan want to add to that.
Yeah, I'm just going to reiterate, short and simple. I see even like the simplest subject lines just say, hey, just even, and then if on client side, I usually like to kind of just like in 40 characters or less, just mention like what my email is about. That kind of like gets to the point, but really you want to use your subject line to engage and open, to engage curiosity. That's really what you're aiming for.
Yeah,
absolutely. And one of the things that I would also advise is keep your subject line and your final call to action in sync, right? So there are I've seen so many of these funny templates that are out there, that try to kind of deceive the recipient into opening your email. Trust me, doesn't work. You will get great open rates, but you will hit spam really fast, right? So people want honesty upfront. My favorite subject line is quite simple, like Christina. My favorite subject line is first name, quick question, or quick question, comma, first name, right? So that gives me great open rates. It's personalized, and my call to action for that subject line is, I would love to talk to you about, blah, blah, blah. And, do you have some time tomorrow, day after tomorrow, whatever it is. So,
Yeah.
that's what I would, that's how I would design my subject line. Again, it's the temptation is to pack more information, but you got to think from the recipient's shoes, and they don't have time, nor do you, right? So nobody has time, and they just want to get to it really, really quickly, and that's why simple and short generally work way better than anything that's elaborate.
Yeah.
Christina, I'll take over some really super
I'm
easy
overwhelmed.
ones.
I'm overwhelmed
Yeah.
to do it.
So France, so like, would you suggest video, message, and email sequences? I would say yes, as long as it's really personalized towards that email sequence rather than like a generic video. Like a really good way to do it is like you have like this like thumbnail here, and then you press the play button. You can't play a video inside of Gmail or Outlook, but it can link to whichever video site that you use. If you use like Loom, things like that. Is there any data to show the subject line with 3 or forward to get a better open rate? This used to be true in the past. Gmail now filters those out. So not really. I would say like email is kind of evolving. That strategy maybe has worked 3 years ago. I would, you can try it. Again, it doesn't hurt to try, but it does use 3 characters. But yeah, I would give it a shot. Let's see, let's go with signatures and Calendly links or calendar invite. Signatures, I would highly advise always adding in a phone number and either some general location where you're at, like if you're in New York, if you are, your address, if it's possible, your office address. These things are looked, Gmail looks upon these greatly. So they go like, oh, okay, you're like self-identifying yourself. So I would, again, advise that like just, put that information in, and at the same time, people can call you. For Calendly links, I would try to avoid that as much as you can. The reason being is because if someone books a calendar invite, they're not responding to your email. So which means that like you're not actually getting that engagement score up. So make it something like, hey, do you have time next week to schedule a call? And then you can send them the Calendly link after that as a reply. That's usually generally how I recommend it. Open tracking. So I'm just going rapid fire. Open tracking, the pixel. Yes, I use Interseller uses a pixel. Manan could probably mention that if they do it too. The pixel is kind of like an image that gets embedded into your email. So when somebody opens that email, that image gets loaded. And that's how we know that email was opened by that person or the contact. To kind of better enhance open tracking, what Interseller does, we use branded domains that look exactly to your company. So it'll be something like t.interseller.io. And that image loads directly from my website, directly from the sender's website. And it looks a lot better for that. And Gmail loads images automatically. Outlook doesn't, unfortunately, by default, but they are improving that. But yeah, that's my rapid fire.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. And someone asked here too. So there's a couple questions I wanted to address. One is, more fundamentally, any best practices on how to identify new recipients for email sequencing? If you ask that, contact me after this, because I can talk about prospecting cold prospects all day long until I'm blue in the face. So happy to share how I'm doing that on LinkedIn, etc. Other one here is data about more formal versus informal emails. There's a lot of variables there. So depending on the market. So for example, we have some customers, or at least I personally have some customers here that use us in like Switzerland or some areas where it's really more common practice to have more of a formal tone to the email outreach versus having like more of a playful, like emojis and things like I would typically use in an email outreach. So, you know, I'm going to say there's depending things there. So maybe we could talk about it offline, but, it's going to depend on who your target audience is, right? It's going to depend on, you know, what's the culture like for that particular area, right? If you're in a specific geography. So I'm going to say I can't answer that straightforward. You guys agree with me? I think there's more dependent variables.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's a lot of factors. So, you know, in terms of your target, their age, you know, the cultural preferences, you know, things work differently in, you know, my part of the world. So, you know, you want to understand your audience better and take a call upon
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Listen, we got 3 minutes, guys. Let's rapid fire through just a couple more of these, and then
I have just one thing to add. I you know, in the chat and Q&A, I see you know, a lot of you know, our customers are asking about the roadmap and some of the features, some of the things how you can do on Recruiterflow. You know, I think most of you have my email ID. So just you know, shoot me an email. I'm always happy to talk. If you don't, my email ID is on the next slide. So you know, or you can just ask us on the support.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. And last but not least, you know, all our contact information is here. If you have any questions, I am always open to email too. So if you want to ask me a direct question about spam or anything like that kind of stuff, you know, our team is really good at that too. So I'm more than happy to answer those. And then Christina will probably mention that, like, we'll share this entire webinar recording with you guys. And last but not least, we also, if you're an Interseller customer today, we're actually launching today what we call the templates library. And the templates library will also include a lot more templates about like the sales outreach that we've done, some candidate templates and things like that. So keep an eye out for that. It will be located on the top left-hand corner of Interseller. But yeah, cool.
Okay, awesome. Listen, guys, right on the money. We are a minute away from ending here. So many good questions we didn't get to answer. So again, feel free to reach out. You will get the recording. You will get some additional resources like templates after this webinar. Give us at least, you know, a few hours, if not tomorrow morning, to get this over to you, just because we've got to render everything. But you will have this in hand, and if there's questions that we didn't get to answer, reach out to us. We're all very friendly and inviting. So thanks, guys. Thanks, Manan. Thanks, Steve. And thanks to everyone for attending. Have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, morning.
All right.
Have a good one, guys.
See you.